Yeah, it has been a long summer, for sure. It's one of those ones where the club never stops. We still were submitting lineups and we're still playing with a lot of New York City cards for better and for worse. So there was still, some stuff going on at the training ground and some cards still getting played and whatever. But yeah, overall, great opportunity for everyone associated with the club to, really take a step back, reflect on the season we had, recharge the batteries and get ready to go again. But yeah, it's been a productive pre-season. There's been a lot of stories going on, which I'm sure you'll be asking about. And yeah, really looking forward to getting stuck right back into it. Yeah, okay, so in terms of the Red X Brigade that we've had in this off-season, obviously we knew Tony was going to be relegated with Dundee United, so we're going to be losing that super rare and with Charlie as well, Charlie Mulgrew, the unique. So we knew about that coming into the summer. We didn't imagine Jota would be moving to Saudi Arabia, which obviously was going to be moving out of under 23 this season anyway, but still a huge card with huge scoring potential to lose. It was a real kick in the stones. It also looked like we were going to be able to count on Jack Hendry super rare for this season, but alas, he has also went to Saudi Arabia. Aaron Moy retired and Kosei Tani has been on loan to Belgium Division 2. So as far as Red X's go throughout the off-season, there's been some damage, but it's not been that crazy. We thought Marcus Llorente was actually going to be going as well, and we absolutely fire sold him as soon as those rumours came out, but it looks like that was all kind of smoke and mirrors, and Marcus Llorente is actually back. He's still at the club, technically, depending on how you want to think of it. So yeah, not too much in terms of the old Red X's. There is still some transfer activity that's pending. We're hearing rumours of Wilfie Gnonto, Kieran Tierney, Gabri Vega. A lot of high prospect, high value super rares at the club are still linked with some moves this summer that, we're going to wait and see how a lot of these moves pan out, because some of the guys at the club have had fantastic transfers in this off-season and they've really opened up a whole new scope of possibilities for what we can compete in this year, thankfully, which has been great. Well, I don't even know really where to start. We've had so many guys have so many promising moves, and a lot of them I think are really going to hit the ground running. Castellanos moving to Lazio I think is going to be a great one, but we might need to wait and see how he beds in. One that I've been excited about since I think it got announced really at the back end of last season, but seeing Felix Nemeka in pre-season for Borussia Dortmund, I've got a lot of faith and a lot of confidence that he's going to come in with big scores for us at FC Barcelona this season. So really good to see him in that move absolutely develop. Again, very similar to Jota, there's been some of these moves that have just happened and we didn't see them coming. Angelino moving to Galatasaray looks on paper like it could be an amazing move for him as a player to really move on his career, but also the utility that we can get with him is potentially, we look at him profile-wise now, he could maybe even outscore what we've seen Guilherme at Konyaspor do over the last 2 seasons or so. So a lot of high expectation around Angelino. Jordan Larsson completed his move to Copenhagen. He's been doing pretty well. We've seen Josko Guardiola now move to Man City, and that's one that if he plays regularly in that team, he's going to become an elite defender option, regardless of his age and under 23s, but also in Champion and All-Star. We've had Pity Martinez return out of Saudi Arabia. He has moved back into River Plate. So when the Argentinian division comes up, we're going to have a Champion America powerhouse forward, maybe arrive in the club as well. And the club is really stuck by Pity Martinez. He's had a few really terrible injuries since he's been out in that Red X situation in Saudi Arabia, but we're getting him back. He's at level 18 or 19, so by the time he plays for River, we're going to have a really good high XP on him, and finally he can show the fans at FC Barcelona what he can offer after 3 years on the sidelines. Maxi Morales has moved back to NYC. That could be decent. We've seen Tenas move to Paris, and I think we're going to get some under 23 utility out of Tenas, definitely more than we'll get out of Tani this year. But the number one transfer for the summer within the club that we've been so excited to see is finally Anatoly Trubin has moved on to Benfica, and I think the only way is up for him this season at the club and in real life as well. So I think it's going to be a huge season for Trubin, and he's got to be the number one under 23 goalkeeper option for this coming season. And with a lot of the other options we've got in the club and a lot of guys that we've brought in as well, I think they're all going to dovetail together really nicely, and we're going to have a really competitive season with a lot of those guys that have been here, been training, developed at the club, with some of the moves that have happened in this summer's window. Otherwise, in pre-season, there's been a few names that have stood out as being impressive. Brais Mendes, where we have always got high hopes for Brais every game week, but particularly this season. But with David Silva announcing his retirement, it feels like any of the jeopardy on him losing some set pieces, maybe rotating games, is maybe left a little bit. So Braises went firmly even higher up in the pecking order in terms of our expectations for this season. Memphis Depay has come on pretty well in pre-season as well. He was training like an NFL player early pre-season, and we've had news earlier today from Atleti that it looks like, from sources, that Depay will be on for penalties this year. So Memphis and Braze 100% have definitely stood out, definitely impressed. And we've also been really impressed with the progress of Odsonne Edouard. Zaha has left Palace, and Roy Hodgson's been playing Edouard quite frequently. He's got a couple of goals in pre-season, and I expect him to start until he, turns in some poor form to worth being dropped, or if Mateta can impress from the bench. But I do think, those are the main guys that have stood out for me in pre-season, guys that haven't transferred, but maybe they can deliver more this season than what they did for us last year. Marcus Llorente maybe comes into that boat as well. We had a lot of high expectations for Marcus this year, and the thought of him going to Saudi Arabia, we just couldn't have handled that. But it looks like he'll be staying, and I'm looking forward to him contributing quite a bit as well. Well, we sold Charlie Mulgrew unique because it looks like he's going to go on and be a pundit now, I think so. We also sold David Marshall super rare as soon as Wallacott was signed, just with the obvious jeopardy on his position at Hibs. We just didn't want that for super rare goalkeeper this year if we could avoid it at all. Levi Colwell, Nicolo Zaniolo, high prospect, high value rewards we've won. We also sold Colwell. We just felt it was a good time to sell in the market, nice peak price on him. And Zaniolo, similar to Llorente, we maybe knee-jerk reaction, sold him a bit too quickly off the back of some Saudi rumours, because it looks like he'll now be joining Aston Villa. And along with John McGinn, who's already at the club, that would have been a lovely duet for us to be rolling around. They're the main ones. Also in Champion America, we really cleared out super rares. So Giacomakis, Wanyama, Ki Sung-young, Brian Kufre, Eric Sviatchenko, all those guys left. They really facilitated Finn Dammon coming in to really bolster our super rare goalkeeper contingent. We've got 3 really strong options now this year on top of Skorupski and Sorare from last year. Craig Gordon's coming back from injury. We don't know what the status of him is yet, but we felt we needed some reinforcements. The Champion America competition level for us wasn't really there, and it made more sense to go and get an EU playing super rare goalkeeper to help the rest of the squad really flesh out. So those guys went out. Finn came in. On the same breath as that, we also brought in Mark Roca off the back of him moving to Real Betis, another La Liga midfielder that should get a lot of AA and should be a nailed-on starter for a team that will have midweeks as well as a top 5, top 4 push in the league. I thought it was a great price for where we got him. Similarly with Rodrigo Riquelme, who now looks to be settled in at Atleti and will probably be staying there. We'll get some utility out of him. Santi Bueno we managed to bring in as well. He's bolstering that Girona cohort that we've got going for collection bonus and whatever, which has been exciting. But along with the speculation that we've had that between the 3 Ts, Tani, Tenas and Trubin, that we would get an under-23 goalkeeper into Europe this year. We did go out and we've made some speculative buys. We've brought in Savio and Samuel Lino, 2 under-23 forwards that, Savio is nailed on right wing for Girona, it looks like, for this year. I've got high hopes for him. Lino is either going to be on the bench for Atleti or he can still get a move into Portugal, it feels like. So we're watching with that. But guys like Manu Sanchez and Javier Serrano, there's been a lot of Atletico Madrid talent come into the club in the off-season. So between those guys getting different moves and different opportunities, I think under-23s is a division that we've really strengthened in, as well as the Champion Europe Super Rare kind of cohort that we've had operating at that Division 2 level. So they're the main kind of incomings. We've really tried to focus on the quality that's at the club, the guys that are really high level and really moving on, because Brendan Rodgers coming in at Celtic, you can see already with the Ross County game last week, the AA that was dripping off the forwards like Kyogo and Abada, all these guys. Matt O'Reilly played more than 60 minutes. It was night and day to Celtic last year. So I feel that a lot of the Celtic options we've got under Brendan Rodgers are maybe 5 to 10 points better off in some of those peak games, which they weren't last season. So coming into this weekend, there was a lot of really difficult prioritization options available to us, and we're still really undecided with how we're going to attack the main priority division. We've only got Soria playing, we've only got 1 super rare goalkeeper, but the thing that we're really wrestling with at the moment, you'll need to see what we do closer to the deadline, but Edouard or McGregor, the 2 uniques, we can only play one of them. I think Edouard away to Sheff Hughes probably got a better chance of breaking 70 points than McGregor does away to Aberdeen. So that's one that, I think that's the fixture you play. Edouard over McGregor is where we're sitting at the moment, particularly with the recent buff to Champion Europe. That just plays right into our hands. We've got some really strong cards, and across the field, there's not that many dominant fixtures out there, so I feel like that might actually be a nice happy accident, as we like to call it here at FC Barcelona for this game week. But equally the same team, we could just take Edouard out, we could play Dyson Maeda, and it could be a really formidable Cap 240 team. So really at the top end of the club, there's still a lot of difficult decisions to be ironed out, but that's because we've got quality and depth, lots of options, and some really good fixtures on the cards this week. Otherwise, we've got Oblak back, we've got Joe Hart, obviously, David Marshall we're still really unsure about, and Arnaud Tenas. Like, some people think he might play, but I'm not. We'll wait and see for Tenas to play for PSG before we start playing him as a PSG player, if that makes sense. So with Hart and Oblak, it's only going to be really two main priority teams, and they're probably going to go All-Star Pro and Champ Euro Pro, and it's going to be clean. We're probably going to be going all Celtic with Super Rare Kyogo and Dyson up front in All-Star, and in Champion we're probably going to go all Athletic. We've got Rodrigo and Llorente looking to start, and Captain Memphis is on penalties up front. So I feel that both of those teams being single team stacks is very uncharacteristic in the club, but Athletic are at home in a really strong fixture, and the Celtic team, I think that's the best way to make the lemonade out of the lemons of not playing the McGregor, is putting those forward cards in a really strong Division 3 potentially, because I'm not wanting to double down on Taylor for defence or anything like that, so can we put more power, can we put more XP, can we put more onus on the points that the forwards get, is the strategy there. Whereas Athletic, I just don't think there's that many fixtures in Champ Euro to stack against, and maybe this is a good one that on a Monday night we could really fire up the leaderboard at the last minute. So I feel for those two divisions we're quite well set, a wee bit uncharacteristic for the club to start the season, but without having Germany and a few other bits and pieces available, it feels like a really optimal configuration. And in cap modes, we're doing a variety of four-man plays and parlays to try and achieve some objectives, hit some thresholds, maybe pull in some random cards. But for Road to Glory, we've got Etienne Vassin that will be leading out a cap 220 team that, with Savio up front on an L15 a 0, it could be super cheat code, and anything obviously that the foundation team wins goes into the FC Barcelona Foundation, the community, so we'll be rooting that team on as well. But for cap modes, it is mainly four-man plays for the most part, some XP, some coin farming opportunities, No, I'm not expecting any more moves before the deadline. I think we're kind of set. It's just difficult decisions that we need to thrash out, but yeah, there is still some room perhaps in the super rare forward option, and really in rare goalkeeper, defence and midfielder. I think there's a place in the team for another one of each to really help us. We've got really good options in depth, but we need another goalkeeper to get another deployment out there, I think, at rare level. And then one for another position, just another little bit of depth in defence and midfield for rare could help us, and for super rare forward, I think is where we're maybe going to be looking at. Excellent. Well, good luck to you all this game week. I hope you all have a good one, and yeah,